cottage.
It is, yeah.
Attract your attention.
It is 7:30, yeah. So thank you all for coming. Apologies for calling an extra meeting, but there was obviously quite a lot of email traffic flying around after the news from ENC last week, so I thought it was good if we got together and came up with a consensus view on what, if anything, we need to be saying at the moment. So, going to turn to the agenda then, we'll do the formalities first. We've had apologies for absence from...
Councillor Clark, Councillor Fuller, Councillor Sparks and Councillor Stagg.
We haven't heard from Councillors Oakes, so I'm not quite sure whether they're running late or not going to make it, but okay. Next item is declarations of interest, so the usual opportunity to declare any disclosable pecuniary interests, any other interests or request for dispensation, hospitality and gifts.
So I have to declare I'm a St Christopher's Royal resident.
Okay, anyone else?
Do I need chair to show an interest?
If you wish. You don't have to, do you? You don't have to because you're not part of our council, but I mean, you can. Right, okay. Next item then is public participation from interested parties or members of the public. Does anyone want to say anything?
I'll just say a few words, and all I really want to say is that I have every sympathy now with the town council and the neighbourhood planning committee, in that they now seem to have had the carpet totally taken from underneath them, and a very undemocratic way has been adopted in its place, and I think this is totally wrong. It's against all principles of neighbourhood planning, and just seems to me, you know, as I say, totally wrong. I cannot understand why the best site in terms of access is not included amongst the 3 sites, i.e. Bennefield Road, which at the moment has, I would say, the best access of any of the sites, particularly of the 3 that are in. I cannot understand why the 2 of the developers are being asked to contribute money to the cemetery, when my understanding originally was that that site, that land was being given free and gratis to the town by the owner of that land. That seems most peculiar to me. Obviously, I have a particular interest in St Christopher's Drive, where the plan is now for 100 houses. And my understanding was that the Neighbourhood Planning Committee were doing their best, if the Herne Road site was still included, to encourage the developer to pay for an access road from the A605, which is sorely needed to give better access to the town, and would alleviate some of the problems like school buses and so on. That seems to have been just brushed away, doesn't exist anymore, and we're faced with now 100 houses being built on that site, which is approximately in that area over 250 houses, which goes against ambulance and fire and safety regulations, which says you must have 2 accesses to an area where there are more than 200 houses. That's just been totally ignored. So that's gone. I also think that nothing should happen in terms of any of these developments, if they do go ahead, until the problems of the bridge is resolved, because the bridge problem is going to make the access to these sites even more difficult. So I think, you know, and I also think that maybe, because I think what has happened is undemocratic, we should maybe involve our local MP and get him involved.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else want to say? Not really, no. And yeah, just because it's not the time, but I mean, we'll get onto that in a minute.
So the infrastructure isn't here for it. I mean, if you've got 300 houses, probably 600 residents, how's the doctor going to, surgery going to look after them? There's all those sort of things. And I was born in Arundel, and I know the water pipes and the sewage isn't good now.
Anyone else on the public area want to say anything? No, not this time? No. Okay. Right, we've only got one thing that we're really... are there any other requests for consideration from other interest parties? Okay, right. We've only really got one item on the agenda. I'm hoping we can deal with it fairly efficiently tonight. So, and it is an extra meeting. I don't really want us to be here for hours and hours if we can avoid it. I think what I would like to say, just to set the scene initially, is that what we're talking about at the moment is a draft local plan which has not yet been issued. It's going to be issued for consultation. I think the 2nd of November is the targeted date. 4th of November, thank you, is the targeted date. So that there will be a time for us to make a full response to a consultation document. That is not yet now the time. However, I know that there's a strong feeling amongst the councillors and amongst the public as well, that we do consider whether we want to make any representations to ENC at this time, and I think that's what I'd like us to concentrate on. So, what I don't want to do is suggest that we should be considering making a response to the draft consultation, because it is just that. It's not been issued yet for consultation. But what I think we should be considering is whether we want to make a representation to ENC regarding the way that the process is being handled at the moment, the lack of democratic process, the fact that the policies that are in the draft neighbourhood plan for Oundle and the Clapthorne neighbourhood plan seem to be being ignored. So that's my view. So I suppose I've jumped in early and said my 2 pennies before I've given anyone else a chance, but I'll now sort of throw it open to everyone else really to give their views. So does anyone want to say anything?
Right, so, sorry, Bo, do you want to go
Well, I was
first?
only going to say that I think broad brush-wise, the feeling is that they've shut on us, that they've completely gone against our neighbourhood plan, which they have worked with us over the years. Towards the end, that's tailed off. There was a time when we had meetings together.
Peter?
Okay, well, firstly, I'll just briefly answer your question in a second, or your comments. But I personally think that a very, very strong worded letter should come from you. Go to the chairman of the ENC, explaining that we're not happy with the way this has been recorded. There's no democratic process in this. We were not consulted before the draft went to council and or even voted on. In fact, none of us knew it was going to be on that night's agenda. So I think we should really make a very stiff and very, very straightforward request to the chairman of the ENC to look at this, because we're not happy. The second thing we've got to do is we've now got to make sure that whatever happens, the neighbourhood plan is proven and done, so that we can actually put that plan into ENC, and they must take notice of it. Because if they don't take notice of it, then I think we should take stronger action. There are lots of other actions we can take. I'm not going to sort of go into them tonight, because I don't think it's worth sort of muddying the waters. I have had communications with Richard Palmer. I've already told members of the Working Party, you all remember the Working Party, you're a member of the Working Party as well, that on the 12th, did I say 12th or 13th?
I can't remember.
It's the 12th or 13th of November. Richard Palmer is coming over to discuss the whole situation with him. We have noted to him that we've been talking to developers, and that we've got a more flexible approach from the developers than they have, but not necessarily the developers they've been talking to. So can I then just very briefly say what we are actually looking at the situation to put a road from the back of Ashton Road and Herne Road, and we have been talking to developers about that. It's not,
But it's
in
not
the
in the
local
plan.
No, it's not in the local plan. They don't know anything about this yet, because we've been doing it. We've ignored them because at the moment we thought we had more time. But that is on the balance of things, we've had positive responses, but we haven't had confirmation of any action due. But we still need a third developer to come in to actually give us enough money to develop those roads down to the 605. We've then got to convince Highways to put a roundabout in there. So that's the biggest thing. That's what we've done so far. We can't really do any more until we've got everything else sorted, our SEA's done and our neighbourhood plan completed. Then we can push for a lot more. That's about it, isn't it? Something's anything else.
And that is actually happening at the moment.
Right.
The SEAs and everything is ongoing.
But that depends on Herne Road, of course. Herne Road is not in
Yep. But it
the
is in our plan.
NDC plan.
Yeah, but it is in our plan. It's
Yeah,
not.
oh yes, I know it is.
We're pushing for our original sites to be in our plan.
And
We're not
to the same size.
the same size,
Yeah.
yes, the same size. We're not going for 100 houses at St Christopher's Road, unless they give us the road to the A605. Then we might talk to them about it.
But then they could still come Ashton Road.
No, they won't,
That
because
will
they'll
still
come
be
down the
blocked.
Herne Road. They'll come down the new road from the A605.
And that road will be still blocked, you know.
Yeah, so they'll only have pedestrian access.
Yes.
Right.
What are the chances of Highways paying for a roundabout there?
Well, as it happens, I've managed to contact somebody that we talked to when we had that conversation with Philip Rose, and I've sent an email off to, I can't remember his name now. But anyway, he sorts that out, and I'm hoping to get a response from him. At the moment, I have no response.
Apart from Brighton, sorry.
Last, say that the whole way in which ENC have dealt with this over the last roughly 12 months has been utterly appalling.
Agreed.
They knew exactly what kind of a plan we were developing. What's more, they knew why we were developing it in the way that we did. We didn't just randomly go out there and decide, oh, we think we'll have a development there, we think we'll have one there. This was the result of having conducted a survey of the entire town, asking the town what it was that they thought we should do, given the need to have some further development. Of course, it's probably fair to say that many people in the town would have wished that there was going to be much less development or none at all. But we persuaded people that the reality was there would have to be a certain amount of development. Given that, where should it be? From that, we developed a plan which said we shouldn't have a single big site or a couple of big sites. We should be trying to spread the load, if you like, of this development around the town. We went further than that, of course, didn't we? We said, wherever possible, we should get something out of the developers for the privilege of getting sites. We worked incredibly hard to deliver a number of positive benefits, not least of which were the proposed route of cycleways, but there were also a vast number of other things which seem to have now boiled down to a cemetery extension, which, as a member of the public rightly pointed out, we had persuaded somebody to effectively give us for nothing. Now somehow magically developers of other sites are being expected to put up money to try to acquire something that could have been acquired for free in the first place. The thing is a shambles. The public ought not to stand for it. We are the representatives of the public, so it follows we should not stand for it. As to whether we can practically prevent it, may be another matter. But we have to, as a council, be united. We have to make clear to ENC and to our councillors on ENC exactly what we think of this situation. The member of the public said we should be involving our MP. He needs to understand exactly what has been going on here and frankly what the stakes are. Ultimately, we are going to have the unedifying sight of the district council trying to promote a local plan, which quite probably this council would turn round and seek to say should not in fact be supported in its present form. I, for one, would struggle to accept the plan in the form that I have seen it. I think that what it is proposing in terms of the development sites and the numbers on those sites is, well, words almost fail me. It isn't what this town needs. It isn't what this town wanted. It isn't what this town voted with its feet for. And somehow we have to get the message over to these people that instead of rolling over, as they appear to have done to certain developers, they should have actually done what we did, which was try and get the developers on board and build up a plan that actually works for this town. What we are likely to end up with is a plan which will undermine the town. That's how high the stakes are, and we must use every trick in the book at this stage to try to get ENC to roll back from the position they've adopted to come up with a plan that takes on board far, far more of our original neighbourhood plan than this one does.
I would say that, I mean, from the developers that we've talked to, and it's been mostly Roger and I that have been talking to the developers, they've been very responsive to what Oundle wants. We haven't talked to the Cosstock Road people because they haven't actually come back and given us a tape and when you can talk to them. I would say, with regard to Cosstock Road, there are actually only 30 houses in Oundle, the other 100 are in Glatthorne. So Glatthorne will have to take that up, because obviously they don't want 100 houses.
I think as somebody said about the marina, it's really an Oundle, isn't it?
Sorry?
They're really an Oundle.
It is,
They're
but
really
it's
an
not,
Oundle.
you see, unfortunately.
Well, I know technically they're not.
Well, yeah,
but
but the
that's not
problem
how
is-
the population here are going to view
No,
it.
no, but the
And quite
problem-
rightly so.
Malcolm, the problem we have is that the 100 houses in Glatthorne, which border Oundle, will take all our facilities, our doctors, our schools, our roads, and not give one penny
Well,
to
that's
the
exactly
town.
the point I'm making. And we spent a lot of time and effort to stop what's the word? Coalescence with
Yeah,
Glatthorne.
well,
And
Glatthorne...
ENC were perfectly aware of that, all those conversations.
Yeah, I know. And Glatthorne
And
actually
it was
didn't
too-
put it in their neighbourhood
Yes, they
plan.
did. Yes, they did.
No, they didn't. They've actually told us they didn't.
It is not
It
in
wasn't,
the
it wasn't in the approved neighbourhood plan.
wasn't in
those
the
It's not in
three
the
sites
actual
weren't over
neighbourhood
there.
plan. The village did not want that development because it regarded it as being completely detached from and remote from the village, which is quite right. It is not an extension of Glatthorne, it's an extension of Oundle that happens to be in Glatthorne parish if that development went ahead in that way.
Can we determine whether it actually is or isn't?
It's not.
Because I've been very recently and looked at the plan that is shown on the ENC site as the plan. It is in there.
Yeah, they added it to it.
They added, ENC have actually added it to it without Glatthorne actually knowing at the time.
And they've gone against it.
Glatthorne, it may well be in the district plan, as far as ENC is concerned for Glatthorne.
Yeah.
I don't know that.
But it's
Right,
not in the
okay.
Glatthorne plan.
The version I've been reading says no coalescence and don't want to expanding towards Glatthorne, but maybe I must be reading an old version, I don't know.
Given the discussion that is taking place around Glatthorne, perhaps I should declare an interest as a resident of Glatthorne.
Can I just ask Councillor Peel a question? Have you got any insight into how long ENC have been talking to these developers and when they started talking to them?
Well, the only insight we had was when we met with Richard Palmer, and I think you were at that meeting, Emma was there, I think, as well, weren't we? At almost the first initial time that I became chairman. And they then said they were talking to the developers, and they had to talk to 3. They hadn't, at that time, talked to anybody else. But they haven't actually talked to anybody else, unless we've pushed them to do so. For instance, Millers Field. Millers Field, the people at the development of Millers Field actually went to the ENC and talked to them because they did not contact.
But I'd be interested to know when they joined us at meetings.
Oh, it was already been done.
That was in May when the three of us met,
Yeah.
Richard.
It
He
was,
told
it's
us
all
then
already
they were
been
going
done.
to go to the development.
So when they came along and joined our meetings,
Yeah.
our public meetings, had they already been talking to these people?
They'd already started talking, yeah.
They said at that stage that they had spoken to some of the developers.
And there was only the 3, so that's it. And they only talked to 3.
So we could just add a few things to what's already, not repeating them. The process at which ENC have gone about selecting the 3 sites does not comply with what they were insisting that we did on deselecting our sites.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have selected 3 sites without consultation with the other sites. Yeah, which cannot be within the rules that they were asking us to comply with. In addition to that, the damage that they've done in the negotiations that had been taking place by several councillors, some not present here today, the damage that they have done has been significant. So the negotiations that had gone on for the additional field, for the cemetery, for contributions to several different things in the town, has just been wiped out by them going to the builders and trading it all down. And I think the first thing, the last thing is the volumes of houses that ENC are now proposing is significantly above what was in the requirement. So although they identify 300 houses, they add opportunity development with Millersfield and with the other small sites around Oundle. So they are going to put more houses on Oundle than was in the plan. If they don't do that, then they're going to tell people like Millers they can't have planning permission. So
It far exceeds what we were told we had to do. Far exceeds.
But look, may I say, all of this, you look at the issue with the 95 houses that were proposed by Persimmon to the site towards the A605 was thrown out. No, why?
we settled it was only on technicality.
Right, you see,
It's because of the 5-year land supply difficulty they took us to court.
yeah,
That's all it was.
the point is though, it was chucked out. There were 95 houses proposed down the left-hand side of Burn Road as you go out towards the A605. And I remember going to Clapson on a couple of occasions about that one. But everything seems to be just turned over. That was thrown out. But all of a sudden, we're swamped.
Well,
I'm just trying to be general about this and not specific, okay?
I think the problem is ENC planning, and I'm not putting this down to all the councillors, some of the councillors, don't seem to really realise what's happening in Oundle. ENC planners don't seem to realise what's happening in Oundle. They're just doing what they think will be comfortable for local plan. And that's why, as I said right at the beginning, I think we need a very strong worded letter. And without sort of any sort of, sort of if and buts, it must be really strongly worded to the chairman of ENC, and that will start the ball rolling. And you're right. I mean, I've talked to Tom Puskell about North Bridge over several occasions. In fact, he's fed up with me emailing him, I think. But I will write to him again about the neighbourhood plan. And
I think it should be written by council.
Yeah, I think it needs to be council.
well, I mean, I would keep him informed about what's going on.
Well, I think we do need to make sure that if we're communicating to either Tom or to ENC that we're doing it as Oundle Town Council and
Well, I mean, I rattled one off to Richard.
Can I just ask a question? Because are you in danger of not having a neighbourhood plan at all, because the NDC have taken it over virtually? And are you in further danger of more developers saying, Oundle hasn't got a neighbourhood plan, therefore we can put in applications all over the place? Because I think that's a danger that you're in.
Well, the sequence of events effectively was this. We wanted a neighbourhood plan because it was the way of trying to control the amount of development. If sites were not allocated in our neighbourhood plan, then the theory was that they would not be successfully developed. However, the local plan, if you like, would trump a neighbourhood plan. So producing a local plan ahead of our neighbourhood plan, as I understand it, and I'm sure Councillor Stirling will correct me if I'm wrong about this, will have the practical effect that if we subsequently produce a neighbourhood plan which is incompatible with that local plan, our neighbourhood plan fails. Can go forward, provided that it is not incompatible with that plan. Well, at the moment, of course, the reality is our plan is completely incompatible with their plan. We're proposing completely different levels of development in different places. So the reality is that we could be saddled with a local plan which should prevent what I might call large-scale developments on unallocated sites, smaller sites, and arguably Miller's Field and the sites south of Benfield Road, for example, would fall into that category, could probably come forward and be regarded as something of a windfall site. Of course, it still means an extra 10 houses there and 12 houses there, all adding to Oundle. But the larger scale developments, such as, for example, the one off Herne Road, we might call it Philip Rose's site, for example, if that's not allocated, it's not going to stand a chance. And furthermore, neither is the Benfield Road site, which was correctly pointed out from the floor earlier, of course, is arguably one of the most obviously developable sites around. In fact, it could and would have taken the entire number that is being suggested in the district plan. All of it could have gone on that site. We took the view that it shouldn't all go on a single site. I still hold to the view it shouldn't all go on a single site. But I look at that and I am simply astonished that that site has been completely overlooked in favour of other sites, which frankly, some of which have far greater constraints on it than that site does. But we mustn't get too specific on those issues tonight. What we do have to concentrate on is making very clear to ENC and to anybody else who care to listen to us that what is happening is simply unacceptable. It just doesn't fit with what this town needs and wants.
Neville's been waiting for a while, so
That's okay. The whole issue really would be that one of the original things that came up was having a self-supporting development. In other words, you'd build houses and you'd have medical facility, school, whatever, and it would be separate, so it could exist on its own, and it wouldn't necessarily impinge upon Oundle as it is. Do you know what?
Can I just answer the utilities question?
Yeah, I was going to, can I just come to you for a moment? Because you're chair, are you still chairman of planning the district?
Indeed I am.
And you have been throughout all of
Yes.
our plan. You will know, therefore, I think, why they changed their minds on the district council about this whole process.
Well, I'm not sure
and
they
what
changed
would
their
mean
minds.
to Oundle to
They
be
didn't change their minds, I
reversing
don't think.
our policy, if you like.
Yeah. We have been trying to get this neighbourhood plan underway for 9 years. Matthews and myself with Philip Rose's garden bungalow, and we started the whole thing then. Because it's taken so long, because of the difficulties that we've had here in terms of slowing the whole process down, the district council can't afford to wait any longer. Okay, one should say they should wait and that's it, but they have to get the district plan done in place through its processes before the district council disappears in 2020. And to do that, they brought forward everything, I suspect, I don't know that, they brought forward everything And as a result, they haven't got time to wait for us again to get our act into gear to present them with the plan that they want.
Do you not attend full council meetings then? As a district councillor, do you not attend meetings?
I attend full council
A
meetings.
decision like that, I'm sure, wouldn't have just been made in some distant little
The
subject.
decisions about the timing of the
Yeah, but
the district plan are all done within one committee.
do they not report back or have minutes?
Well, can I,
You would know about that decision
yeah, can I
because
just add
we
then
haven't
something
been
to,
told
no,
this.
The
something
last
to the
decision
minute.
was only last week.
Yeah.
The meeting was last week.
Could I just take some quotes from the minutes of the 30th of July, the Planning Policy Committee? Yeah, and Richard Palmer submitted draft, part one of the paper then. In part of the one of the paper, he said that local plan part 2 will be to ensure that the respective neighbourhood and local plan policies will complement one another. In another section, he says elsewhere a number of neighbourhood plans have reached significant milestones and contain details of site-specific policies, matters that the local plan 2 should recognise and accommodate. And then he said in the other one on empowerment, where residents are actively involved in the shaping and places that they live. So in the paper that was presented to the elected councillors on the 30th of July, it was clear that he was telling them that he was listening to our neighbourhood plan. And you know, the fact that the plan is not ready, in his paper, he said it doesn't matter if it's not ready, I am reading that plan. And he clearly was not doing what he said in that
So
paper.
a letter from us could contain that.
I don't think now is the time to do that. I think it's excellent work that Tony's done there, and I think it's great material for us to be doing in our response to the consultation. But I don't think now is the right time. As I said right at the beginning, I think what we should be doing now is complaining about the process by which they're getting to the plan, the place it is today, and the lack of consultation with the town. I'm just trying to say something. Sorry, I'll come to you in a minute.
I think one of the facets of your complaint needs to be a question about how they came to reject our Regulation 14 application.
Yeah.
Because they were at the meeting, the public meeting, back in May, April, can't remember, and Richard Palmer played a large part at that meeting in talking to the public, talking as an ENC employee. And suddenly we find ourselves confronted with an entirely different situation. It's very easy to leap to some sort of conspiracy theory, but it does begin to smack of exactly that. Why did they reject our Regulation 14 process? And yet, as Tony has said, they're not prepared to go down the same detailed SEA route that they wanted us to take.
Yeah.
Well, I've got the next thing.
Right.
But I think we've got to focus on what we're doing next. We can all complain about what's happening.
Yeah.
And now we've got to decide how we're going to address it. Who's going to address it?
You know, I think it's the mayor that's got a right to
It's going to be it's going to be a very difficult letter to write.
I agree with it. I think, but the mayor's going to do it because he's the mayor.
It needs to come. It needs to come from me.
Yeah.
Representing the council. I mean, you know, the point is that's the reason we call this meeting is to get a consensus tonight as to what, you know, in broad terms what we're going to do. We'll go away there and write the letter and get it sent this week.
Can I, through you, ask Councillor Stern a question, which is simply this. There is great haste in trying to get this district plan on the go because of the shake-up to local government in Northamptonshire. But surely by the same token, introducing a local plan for the district and then scrapping in effect the district councils makes about as much sense as a chocolate pie tart. ENC, etc. As I understand it, we're going to get into a completely different ball game with two unitary authorities in Northampton. The constant is actually us, not them.
Good point.
So,
Good point.
surely, in terms of looking at long-term planning, a better place to look is here rather than with ENC. And I wonder whether you'd like to comment on that.
Firstly, the unitary authorities will have the ability to do the planning themselves, as we understand it. But if we already have a plan, a district plan in place, that is then fairly well sacrosanct and can't be changed by another authority. Of course it can, but I mean in theory it shouldn't be changed. Therefore, with the plan in place, it's therefore in place and therefore will be active no matter what local government is around at that time.
All the more reason to get it done, if that's the answer. All the more reason for us to act now and get it in place.
Yeah, but we're talking about the local plan, aren't we? So the problem is that the point that was made earlier is that if the local plan comes in its current form, current draft form, then that will effectively rule out us bringing in a neighbourhood plan that
if we
brings
force on, if we try and we'll work hard and force our hand on it now, we'll have a strong position.
I'm not saying we shouldn't, and we've already voted as a council to do that. I think the reality is that we've failed in the past to get it through, and
what I mean is the written letters that we're about to do, those sorts of things, to make sure that they understand not only the council but the public of Anfield are upset. And our MP, and I've emailed on numerous occasions to Tom, and he recognises that Anne is the jewel in his council consistency crown. And it's an important place for him. It's his, it's probably his centre. You can call Corby a different place, but it has a different political, So that's sorry. I'm going to take another one from Neville and another one from Val, but I think we are going around the circles a bit now. So I'm going to
maybe my hand for a bit.
Yeah.
I would support any strong-worded letter that you wish to create to send, because I'm very, very annoyed, as are a lot of residents around here, and that's it. Full stop. We're not going to put up with this. We're not going to be rubbed over by people who owe 60 million quid. There we go.
Okay.
I was just going to say, we've heard that the main driver was a time constraint, getting it done by a certain time. Doesn't mean to say it has to be changed. Well, they knew what was in our plan.
Yes, exactly.
What's the date got to do with it?
Quite.
Appreciate that the letters that we propose sending are going to concentrate on process, but actually, you think back to what Tony was saying earlier, that's part of the whole process. The fact of the matter is that within a public meeting, ENC was saying one thing and frankly doing something different.
Absolutely.
And we should be referring to that in this letter. It's part of the reason that this process is so, so objectionable to us.
No, absolutely, I agree. No, and I think that's right. I mean, I think you're absolutely right. What I'm proposing in the letter is to say that we feel that the process is wrong, and we can use that as an example to highlight the fact that they said they would be consulting with us. They said they would incorporate what's in our local plan, and they've not.
They didn't.
Yeah.
Can I just say that from the meeting we had with Richard, the draft plan consultation was going to start in November, December.
Yeah.
Not early November, but
Well, that's
November,
that's November the 4th, if they're talking about it.
Yeah, well, they were going to do it at the end of November to December because they knew that our plan would be ready by December.
Which is, I mean, that is what they're doing. They are sticking to what they said they would do. They said in November, December, and that's what they're doing.
Can I ask, I mean, we've gone over our plan, how we can try and defend it, or at least the letter is to say, what can we do to object against to their plan?
Well, nothing yet, because they haven't published it. So
when they published it, what's the process?
Well,
who does it go to for consideration? What are our objections?
It's a public consultation, so that's when we need to be writing our...
But are they judge and jury in their own document?
Yeah.
There are one or two things in the draft that Tony and I have both touched on that we can actually object to.
But to whom?
It's a
If you only
matter,
object to
well, we can only
ENC.
object to the ENC, but at least we can object on those bases. So we're looking into those at the moment, but until we know for sure that they're going to be in there, it's a bit pointless trying to do anything about it.
Well, just in a sense, as a follow-up to that, consultation opens on the 4th of November. We will need to put together a detailed response to that document from this council. It's going to be practically impossible to do that within the constraints of an ordinary full council meeting. Whether we should do it in the meeting at the beginning of December, that would normally be a full council / planning meeting, I would doubt, because there just wouldn't be the time. So the reality is we're going to have yet another extraordinary meeting, simply to draft a detailed response to
We're
that.
meeting in November as well.
Or we ask the neighbourhood planning group to put together a response which we then can circulate before a meeting and then comment on and amend if necessary in council.
I think that's probably the best way. And don't forget, we have got a meeting with Richard Palmer on I think that 12th. I can't
When
remember.
is that? Where is
I
that?
booked the room. It's in the Blackthorn room.
With Richard Palmer?
Can I just make one? I don't think you need.
Richard and I have been.
I think you need also to get the public in Oundle behind you.
That's on the 21st.
That's the 21st. That needs to. I think you need to get a plan, because you've got 6 weeks from the 4th of November. A plan as to how you're going to fight this, because time will go by. Writing the letter will take time. You've got to get it right. You need to be doing something as soon as possible. Otherwise, it will just go.
I think those things are being
And I
done
think you need
already.
to get the public, because most people do not know what has happened.
I think that you should be reassured that we are already doing all of those things. I mean, it's already in progress. There is already work being done by councillors Peel and Robinson. The public meeting is planned, and so all of that is in place.
Yeah, so you need to publicise that meeting.
It's only just, I'm not even sure it's confirmed yet, is it? We got the booking, the
21st of November.
21st of November. Have we got the
It
room?
has been confirmed now.
Yeah,
So
you need to publicise.
it's in the
It's
oracle.
going out
It's
in
in the
the
oracle.
oracle.
It's in the oracle.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
I'll just wait for a while.
I speak not as the editor of the Needle News, but you need, I think, to mobilise public opinion well in advance of the public meeting. Because you want the public at the meeting.
Yeah,
I think you should be using all the conduits around town, the Oundle Info. There is another Oundle website which speaks to local people. There should be something on both of those, and we'll gladly carry something in. Thank you.
Well, I mean, I go back to the flyer that you did for the previously. You need to do that and get people really to come to that meeting.
I think we have published it on we're not talking about our council website, haven't we?
Yeah.
And the Facebook page.
At the moment, it's only just been confirmed in the last few days. It's going out in the oracle,
Yeah,
but
I
we
say,
will be then
Yeah,
publicising.
but you need to do the
Yeah,
because
we will
people
do.
don't look at websites unless they know there's something to look at.
Yeah.
If they don't know there's something to look at, they won't bother.
Yeah.
Put it in the daily papers.
Yeah.
I think what we should do.
Hang on. Let's give them a chance. Go on.
I'm just wondering if it's a council meeting or a sort of a general debate. I'm just very worried about going into war with NCC and ENC as a parish council. Because that's...
They fired the first shots.
Right. Now the thing is, I'm quite happy to get in the trenches and have a go. I will. But you've got to understand, we have to have good relations with these people. They have their own difficulties, which are pretty obvious in one particular area. And we want to do the best for our town. No, I'm not entirely sure how you marry those things together.
Yeah, I think
So
it's
I'm trying to be very thoughtful about this. We know our town better than any of the others, and we understand the difficulties that we face. Now, the trouble is, you've really got to work out how you manage this in the round.
We just go shooting, I'm sorry.
I know where you're coming
Listen,
from, Peter.
Arnold comes first. No, I don't care
It
about
does,
any
it does.
or NCC. Arnold comes first.
Yes.
We shoot for Arnold, and we get what we want for Arnold.
But what we've got to do is mobilise things that can help us, not necessarily shoot them down. So, but I understand where you're coming from.
I'd take
Entirely.
time to blow the bloody place up.
You won't get across the
No. Can I just say, I understand where Neville's coming from, but I still think we have to be very strong and very stern and put Arundel first in this matter.
Yeah.
It is really, really important. Same with the North Bridge, if you like. It's really, really important.
Is that expectation?
Excuse me. Look, I agree with you. We put Arundel first. I've never said anything that doesn't go anywhere against that.
And one final thing, before obviously I think we're finished anyway, aren't we? The parishes would like to have a meeting on the neighbourhood plan as well, because they feel that the neighbourhood plan is going to affect the parishes in this area as well,
It will.
especially where the houses are being built.
Big time.
And they're worried. I mean, I had the clerk from Waddenhoe, Pilton and Aldwinkle come and see me today, and she really wants to have a meeting about the neighbourhood plan. So if we can sort of maybe sort of send a
They
letter
have
out.
responded, well, they did respond at the Regulation 14 consultation.
Yeah, well, if we could sort of invite them, say, to that meeting, the open meeting on the 21st, and then maybe to, anything else we can do with them. It might be just another stronger part of the bow.
So who is taking control of the next steps, apart from doing this letter? You said it's all in hand. I'm not quite sure what is in hand.
well, we've got a working group, haven't we?
Yeah. So
On neighbourhood plan.
Okay.
the outcome of this meeting, I think, is the letter. Yeah.
There's also this meeting coming up on the 21st, and
Yeah.
he's quite careful planning, I think.
Tony's already produced a draft,
Yeah, we'll
Yes.
draft
go on that.
Okay.
presentation for that. So yeah.
We've got the meeting on the 12th, 12th with Richard Palmer. Tony, Roger, I will be there, and are you coming on to that?
Yeah, I can do. Yes, I'm not sure. I'm not. Wasn't sure I was aware of it. But
Okay, well, you see, the thing is, you see, we let them take minutes last time, and we will be taking our own minutes this time with using the recorder, because I think it's only...
If you want minutes, I think it's better.
Have a professional.
Oh yeah, well, right now, but
Rather than
we've
just-
actually done them
Just
on the-
having
yeah,
a recording.
Yeah, because that's important. And hopefully, after that meeting, we will have a clearer indication of how Richard Palmer wants to deal with our neighbourhood plan, because at the moment we don't know. It might be, once he understands that we have more flexibility than they have with the people that we've been talking to, he might actually, maybe, I'm not going to promise anything because I don't know, he might actually say, well, okay, let's run with it, but if we need it in writing or in the minutes.
I think Phil wants a word.
Right. Yes, we do need strategies. Town council needs a strategy, and there needs to be a town strategy as well to make sure that everything is done to maximise our complaints, our objections, our difficulties to ENC in the period of consultation. As some of you know, the three district councillors, the other two and myself, we've got a hard copy of the revised plan, which has been revised again, coming to us on Friday. We're meeting next week and spending all day going through it to fine-tooth comb. We, for instance, already found 9.
New revision.
substantial errors in it, some of which have been corrected. Things like employment sites. I won't go into detail because it'll be a bit more. But we're going to go through it, and then, as I've said to you, we'll report, having taken that to ENC and try and done it from our point of view, we'll then report to you what the difficulties are and what ENC has said and what we found. That will be done by about the 10th of the month, so you'll have our input as part of the strategy, and how you handle that is down to yourselves, obviously, as a town council. But we found quite a lot. If you take Regulation 14, which was mentioned earlier on, which our plan was discounted against because of the SEA, which is a document which identifies where you build houses, where you can, what you can do, and where you shouldn't build houses, stuff like that. We as a working group did all that SEA work, and we did it in line with what the district council actually asked us to do. Okay, they changed their minds afterwards, but they didn't tell us until recently that our SEA work wasn't good enough now for them. So that's one of the things that needs to be built into the strategy of complaint, so that we can hold them to account. There's quite a few things like that, some of which don't really affect, like Station Place and the marina. Those sorts of things are in the district plan, but they're wrong. They've got down at the marina 150 people work there. I think it's about 15, isn't it? About 10, 15? Okay.
There's more than that, significantly more.
In days gone by there might have been when Fairline was there, but I don't think they ever had that many. That's in the district plan at the moment. So there are mistakes like that all the way through it, because I believe they've rushed it. So from that point of view, we three are going to go through it with a fine-tooth comb and list everything that we can see that is plainly and obviously wrong as part of your complaint procedure.
Can we have that then for the 12th of November?
Quite possibly. Yeah, you can have what we find.
That's what I'm saying.
But whether I can get to ENC and say, look, what are you guys doing here?
Yeah. No, I'd like to.
And I may do that separately alongside or whatever. You can have our list of everything. I think the major complaint, and it's coming out tonight, is that instead of the 7 sites that we selected with a great deal of care and detail and got benefits for the town for, they're rejecting that and putting in the 3 sites, the big ones, the easy ones, with no benefits to the town. That, to me, is
strong,
unacceptable.
Okay.
That's the major thing.
If everyone's had sufficient chance to get their contribution out, then what I'm going to propose is that I will draft a letter which I will circulate to the Neighbourhood Plan Working Group for their input. Between the 3 of us, basically, I suspect will be the main people who are doing it. Yeah. We'll knock something together this week. It will be a strongly worded letter. It will be focusing on the fact that we feel the democratic process has been ignored, and that the views of the people of Oundle and the policies in the draft Oundle plan have been ignored, and that we haven't been given the consultation that we would have expected and were indeed promised. That's what the thrust of the letter is going to be. You guys will get your chance to make it as vitriolic as you can. And well, although again, taking Neville's point that it needs to be strongly worded, it needs to make it absolutely clear about our displeasure.
That letter goes to the chief executive and not to an elected member.
Chief executive, yeah, okay.
He controls the whole thing.
I was intending to send it to the head of planning, Paul Bland, but yes, we'll copy
Paul
him.
Bland he employs Paul Bland.
Yeah.
If it's a substantial complaint,
yeah.
It's not point middling around with
yeah.
too small.
Fair enough. We'll take your advice on that. Yeah. So that's the proposal. I'll have to vote on it. So I'll make a proposal. Someone's going to say those in favour. I think. I'm not surprised if everyone's. Yeah. Yes, not surprisingly, I think everyone was well on board with that. Okay, thank you everyone. Thank you for your contributions. Thank you for turning up this evening.
Jerry, just in closing, could I thank Nadine
That's what I was just doing.
officially That's
what I was just doing.
for making us aware of this, that we were not Thank you.
Sorry about that.
Thank you all.
Never been made aware of what was happening.